We begin our webcast with an in-depth look at a set of upcoming procurements planned for the NITAC CIO SP3 vehicle. By any measure, the Army's Enterprise Resource Planning System is a large and complex program, even by United States government standards. Today, 10 years since the implementation began, the program contemplates multiple Army organizations and serves thousands of finance and logistics specialists located at facilities around the globe. Today we'll meet Lee Weaver, the innovative chairman of the Army's Enterprise Contracts Management Group, who is working to streamline this year's IT services procurements for the department's ERP system implementation, and who will use NITAC CIO SP3 to do so.
Many people have heard of our acronym ASIP, the Army Enterprise System Integration Program. That program is really a portfolio, and under the Army Enterprise System Integration Program, there's a hub that is a data hub and a data broker for which there's an input and an output that these ERPs feed into. So it's the common data structure from which all the ERPs operate, and that's called ASIP Hub. That's one component. The other is the Logistics Modernization Program. That has been around since 1999. That is the Army's depot and arsenal support system. And today they are spread out over 50 sites, supporting 21,000 users, and they're fastly coming up upon their increment 2, which is a shop floor capability that they're taking to their depots and arsenals. And we're going to bring in another 14,000 users under that initiative called Increment 2. Next is the Global Combat Support System, Army, which GCSS Army is the acronym. And that is the tactical arm of the Army logistics systems. Today, they're in the midst of fielding their property book and their core supply functionality. In the next deployment effort or the next wave, they'll be focusing on the maintenance arena. So there you have the chief programs under the Army Enterprise System Integration portfolio. Next, you have the General Fund Enterprise Business System, GFEBS. And under GFEBS, you have an Army contract writing system as well as a GFEB sensitive activities. So big business, been around for more than a decade, but now we need to have a departure from the standard business as usual and look at some better buying power initiatives and some strategic sourcing, whereas we can gain some efficiencies and some synergy by having all these contracts come under a single contract mechanism, such as the NIH's CIO SP3.
Yeah, Lee's requirements are very wide and broad and varied, so it's a massive undertaking for his Fort Belvoir office for the ERP services, and so he needed a dynamic contract that could qualify to meet all of his requirements, and that's a big undertaking in itself. And he did have other options, but the options were few and far between, so that allowed him to do a lot of intensive research and to ask a lot of questions, and he wanted to take his time, which was smart of Lee and his contracting folks, in order to get for him what was the best vehicle.
The group performed an analysis of contract alternatives to make sure we went into this with eyes wide open and that we didn't have any preconceived ideas or notions as to what the end state was going to be. We really didn't know. And some goodness came out of that. You know, if you follow the DoD's framework for an IT acquisition, what you'll find is a single website that guides you to government-wide acquisition contracts, for example. We found one called Alliant with GSA. We found another with NIH called CIO SP3. And when we peeled that back a little further, what we saw was the CIO SP3, for example, had a task area 9 that was expressly dedicated to enterprise resource planning programs. Well, we took our market research that we had done prior to this, or in conjunction with the analysis, and we meshed that against the CIO SP3 contract, and what we found was that all known providers, both incumbents, everybody that were deemed capable and highly qualified in our market research, were holders against the CIO SP3 contract.
It was new ground for him because he wasn't aware of CIO SP3, and I liked it that he and his contracting staff asked a lot of questions. They asked questions, they'd ask 5 questions, we'd answer them, and they'd come back with 5 more, which I thought was good because I appreciated that his contracting team and Lee himself were doing their research to find what was the best vehicle for them.
In particular, of interest to the government is providers that have familiarity with the DoD 5000 that could work with the government against our schedule and our milestones to make sure we achieve those in the time allotted. Compliance, you've probably heard a lot about compliance, in particular financial compliance, and a 2017 mandate for ERP programs as well as the Army to be compliant. So we needed a provider to help us get there and to pick up where the incumbents are today, and the GWAC will afford us that opportunity.
The Army is a broad customer, and it's mission driven, and I was pleased that in order for Lee to meet his mission, CIO SP3 could help him meet that mission to support the Army, support the warfighter, to support all of his customers. And that's not insignificant, that's very significant. So it makes me proud to be part of the CIO SP3 program, to be able to support the Army and Lee and his broad and varied requirements that support, out of his office at Fort Belvoir, support all of the Army.
We talked earlier about a DoD framework that the IT services use to do an acquisition, and how we discovered the GWAC contract, the government-wide acquisition contract. Well, you know, the CIO SP3 contract that was ultimately chosen is a non-DoD vehicle, and generally speaking, you're going to come up of either resistance or be questioned along the line as to how you selected that particular vehicle. However, we were able to overcome all of those challenges once we explained what the CIO SP3 offers, the efficiencies that could be gained in reduced cycle times, administrative time, and for an agency to take 4 major ERP programs and to go through a new contract award effort would take a considerable amount of time and money and resources, and much of that, if not most, was mitigated by selecting a contract, government-wide contract that already existed.
Well, we think it proves the point that CIO SP3 is a wonderful contract vehicle, and that it is an expedited vehicle. It's fast, it's easy, but it also, we provide quality to our customers. That Lee is all about the quality of his mission. He wants it fast, he wants expedited procurements, but he doesn't want any of that unless he gets quality to go with that, because he can't afford to fail. So when he succeeds, and we're going to help him succeed, then that'll translate to other Army operational divisions, other Army contracting commands, and other parts of the Department of Defense. We have gone out and met with his contracting staff at Rock Island, and we were very pleased to do that and to show them. They knew about us a little bit, but we were excited to go out and train them and educate them on the not only how to use the CIO SP3 contracts, but on the value that it provides them, in the fact that it is expedited, but they're going to get quality support services from our contractors.
The NITAC and its contract holders look forward to serving the transformational procurements of the Army and Chairman Weaver this year. For all of us at the NITAC and all those associated with the NITAC Outreach webcast, I'm Todd Schwartzrock. Thank you for joining us. Good afternoon.